Hello everybody. Welcome to a viewer game analysis. We have a viewer who played an over-the-board game against Ezekiel, who's rated 1437. So these are over-the-board ratings, right? So their online ratings would be higher. Now our viewer is unrated, says he's 1,000 rapid online, which is way too low if he's playing like this against the 1400 over the board. So let's go through the game and look for any, I don't know, obvious errors in thinking, right? So let's see how the game goes. White starts with e4, and our guy, true to our speed run, plays the Scandinavian over the board. Now white does not take, right? And you've heard me tell you many times, white has to take in the Scandinavian. He doesn't really have a choice. If he pushes past, we get our favorite version of the Caro-Kann in French, which are very fun positions, easy to play. But this guy develops a knight attacking your pawn. So this is like your cue to gain space for free and then solidify that pawn and cement it with e5 and c5. And just as easy as early as move 3, you're going to have an advantage in the opening. Something like this, just for example. Uh, and I'd rather be black. So he's giving you this opportunity to gain space for free. You're going to end up putting your knight here, your bishop here. That's the type of setup that I'm thinking about. But our guy, he takes instead, which removes the possibility of gaining space for free. Now, when you do push, you have to have a little extra set of knowledge on how to not lose your extended center because you pushed it pretty far. But if you have that knowledge, you can have a nice game right out of the opening. So if they don't take in the Scandi, I would I would push in this case, or if he pushes past, I would go c5. But you take, which is of course a playable move as it's trading one strong pawn for another strong pawn. So it can't be a bad move. And it's not. Our guy develops a piece for free as per our principles, which has to be a good move. Of course, you could have also just developed your knight, gone e5, things like that. So he takes the knight unprovoked, which is a little weird to me because why aren't you developing? And why aren't you putting a pawn in the center, right? So e5, whenever your opponent lets you put a pawn in the center, you should try to take care of that first, and then once you have one pawn in the center, then you should carry on with your development, and then you should try to castle. So I would prioritize putting a pawn in the center or developing for free. So the only developing for free is knight f6 because then it's hanging, right? You'll win a pawn if he doesn't do anything. So I would prioritize developing for free or e5. I wouldn't give up my bishop unprovoked. If any, even if I wanted to take this knight with my bishop for whatever reason, I'm going to wait for him to spend a move attacking my bishop. Now maybe you didn't want him to retreat, but this is like a standard maneuver, and you can just go bishop b6. You can even go bishop d7 if you wanted, like it's normal and fine. And another reason you don't want to take is because of the transformation in pawn structure. Once you take this guy, you're bringing his third rank pawn onto the fourth rank into the center and opening up his bishop and giving up just a more powerful piece. So definitely don't take that. Definitely go e5 or knight out. I mean, there are other moves, but this is how I think, right? You could play the other knight out and stuff like that, but it's not developing for free. So just the way my brain works, I want to get the pawn presence or develop for free. Okay, so we take the knight. And now we're basically going into some type of queenless middle game where we ruin white's castling rights and everything's fine. It's playable by both sides. Now you need to have queenless middle game knowledge. So white should just go c2 and tuck his king here, get his bishops out, play a nice game. Let's see what black does. So black goes e6. Our guy goes e6, which is a fine move as it moves the pawn and develops the bishop, right? It's not exactly a pawn presence because he didn't go e5, but e6 is fine. You have a dark square bishop. He didn't want to put it on a dark square. It's a move, right? It's fine. And now develops the knight. So it's a little. Hmm, I wonder. Maybe he moved the pawn and then the knight because he wanted like knight support on bishop b5. Okay. So anyway, he develops the knight, and normally I would say in these queenless middle games, don't put it here if it's going to run into this. But in this specific case, you get to unpin with a long castle check, and then after he handles the check, you'd actually be able to move your knight. So I don't actually mind this square concretely. Okay, he's attacking your pawn, and now we long castle check, energetic, lovely move. I like it. But you can now see why e5 might have been nice, right, to help control the extended center. Right? He wouldn't have this vision. Not that it matters. So anyway, we develop a piece towards the center, contest his bishop. I mean, as long as you say to yourself, okay, what if white goes e5 and determine that it's not a big deal at all, fine. But you just don't want it to be a surprise. You don't want to put your bishop here, have him go e5, and you go, oh, shoot, right? As long as you see e5, say to yourself, oh, that doesn't do anything. It's not a good move. Fine. He retreats the bishop. Okay, weird. And again, knight to the center. So our viewer, he castled long, which is nice. Rooks are connected, knights to their favorite squares, bishop to the center, and a mini pawn presence, but it's not as important here to have a fifth rank pawn presence, right? Because this isn't a standard position. Okay, so it's funny. You do see this a lot. When one guy does a bunny ear move, the other guy copies him. You don't have to copy him, right? Like just because he did this, you don't have to move one of these pawns. Not that it's bad, but like you also don't have to. Okay, so you have a rook that's not playing, so you can consider, is there anywhere to put it? Not really, because you have only one open file. So it's like, do you really want to waste a move? Probably not. This knight kind of dominated. This pressure, it's not real unless you somehow, like, it's just so easy to defend this pawn. All he has to do is knight here. That's already two defenders, and at a moment's notice, f3. So the pressure is not actually real in the situation like this. So you can consider rerouting your knight to a better location like e5 or c5. Um, Knight e5, knight b4, knight d7. So like all these piece moves just to try to get him a little more forward or a little more in the center. I mean, it's hard to explain exactly what they do because they're going to end up leading to trades. But so I guess let's zoom out a little. How should we be thinking about this? It's going to be hard to come up with a plan. I mean, everything is entirely symmetrical pawn structure wise. Okay, his is a little more advanced, but whatever. The pawns are the same. The only real imbalance is he has the bishop pair. So if I'm black, before I look at moves, I want to get rid of his bishop pair. Whichever bishop I can take, I want to get it off the board. So that's why I would look for these trades. I would look to attack his light square bishop from one of these squares. See if I can, and if he trades the knight, I move my bishop, uncover my rook, pin his bishop. My bishop's pressuring him so it's basically just moving a piece a little forward into the center. We don't want to go too far, right? We don't want to be unsafe. But let's say knight e5 is a very safe square coming with that bishop pair removal threat. And if he takes, he only improves your position. So something like that. But okay, that was a little long-winded. But my point is like don't auto make a pawn move, especially one that's a little weird because like I can understand h6 controlling 6 points of material on this specific square, and especially in these structures, this knight move could be very annoying. But the other one, not so much, really. I mean, it almost looks like you're stopping bishop b5, which, I mean, A, this is not a pin, so you could just move your knight, and B, he would walk into deadly discoveries. It's just a weird move to me. The only reason I think you would make it is to get it out of this attack, so you can move your knight. But that's also a reason you could one day play king b8, right? Because you long castled anyway. Maybe you don't want to spend time in a queenless middle game defending, which is fine. It's just a weird move to me. Um, oh, I see, I see. You see, I'm reviewing this like, in the moment, so I come up with things after the fact. Maybe you didn't want to do a move like knight e5, I'm realizing, because you're worried about the pawn. I see, I see. Okay. So this happens in a bunch of different positions, right? Where you could move the knight, defending the pawn, which would hang a pawn, but a couple things. Um, you can start off with different tactics, right? You can start off with a forcing move, but the whole point of why he can't take is the eventual b6, trapping the bishop inside. People call this the Bobby Fischer trap. The one extra element you would have to consider in a position like this is the open diagonal. So you have to, it's like a little extra calculation, but you have to know that there's this move, and then obviously this would almost be checkmate. So you have to move your king. The problem is his bishop's still stuck, and you have a rook coming, so those checks don't do anything, and he's going to lose the game. So this is like a chess chunk that you want to know, write it down or take a screenshot and put it in like a chunk folder or whatever, for all of your chess, because it applies to a ton of positions, queenless positions, or even with queens on the board. So it's not specific here. It's actually a very useful motif. But I'm just guessing. I don't know why you played it. Anyway, he moves his king, and we get our least active piece kind of in the game. I mean, it's a little bit superficial because, like, why is the rook there? Right? It's a little weird. You have two e pawns in the way. You have no pawn breaks that could potentially, open that up. So your rook doesn't really belong there. It's kind of a waste of a turn. But okay. Um, Again, I don't like this knight jump because you don't want to ever have to defend it. I mean, okay, he jumps, you defend it, and on the next turn you kick it. It's not a big deal. Not a big deal at all. I just always keep it in mind. Make sure you have a response. You always want to consider this move. Um, I would still go for the bishop pair. Like, I don't really know what to say. This knight's misplaced, right? It is on its most natural square, but that's like a general chess principle because it's nice that it hits the center. Fine. But we don't have a pawn where the knight's supporting some type of pawn break. It's never going to realistically attack this pawn because you have zero other pieces to help it. So it doesn't really belong here. So you have to be more specific and concrete. So I really like moving the knight to this route. And the d7 square is like a hyper-modern square because it often looks at these two. Anyway, you move the rook in, which of course isn't a losing move. So as long as you don't collapse your position, that's the most important thing. You do not want to make a move that collapses your position. That's dubious or speculative. Like, you don't want to play b5 if you have, like, for no reason, or if you're not sure what it does. Like, that's the type of move where you're asking for trouble. But rook to the center, I mean, how much trouble can you really get in? It's just kind of a waste of time. Okay, this guy does more bunny ears. Wait, what's this move? G6. I don't understand this. It's weird though. I mean, like, it's not a bad move, but it looks like a bad move. It looks like when you make this, the eval should change in white's favor somehow, but it doesn't. Like, the second I see this, my brain goes, no, 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 no. What is this? You just immediately weaken dark squares. This. I feel like it was so much more natural to play h6 there. then g6. But again, it's a close. It's it's kind of a slow position. No queens. It's not going to ruin much, but somehow these weak and dark squares don't sit well with me. Unless, like, I just don't get why you did it. Like, you could have done something else. What does this do? What's your plan? I have no idea. That's a weird move to me. I wouldn't make that. I wouldn't make that. I would move my knight because the thing is, you can only do so much with these guys, right? Like, let's say you push these guys, you push these, you push these. Like, what's really gonna come of it? He's gonna just gonna meet it with his symmetrical pawns. So it's a bit weird to move pawns unless you have like a very specific reason. Like this blocks like certain activity, one square. But other than that, you kind of want to focus on the 6 units you have here, and you want to optimize them. Okay, so this knight is actually doing very well countering his knight and bishop. Your bishop, it is blocking your rook, which is annoying, but I mean, when you consider where it can go, fine, it makes some sense. Maybe you bring it back one day to create a threat, who knows. Your D rook, fine. Your E rook, if anything, double it. It would be an improvement. But more importantly than that is this knight. It needs to just get to E5. So I would say, okay, it's a little more advanced, but the recognition of this knight and its limitations, and that you need to improve it. And if you do move the knight, looking at E5 or C5, that would even open up F6, helping to control some dark squares, which is very restrictive. More possibilities. But okay, we make G6, which I failed to understand the reasoning, but okay. And now this guy's launching pawns, but like I said, what are pawns really going to do? He needs to be optimizing his pieces. But okay, he's kind of just launching something, trying to get at your king. It's whatever. Neutral. Oh, nice move. Nice. Okay, so G6. I'm still trying to figure out why G6. Okay, so you make this move now, which is really nice because one of the drawbacks of his move, and this is I always say this about pawn moves, is they create weaknesses. And it looks like his move is just an aggressive move. What's the big deal? Well, A, these 4 squares can never be touched by that pawn. And it could have before. Which means your knight cannot get to outpost A4, potential outpost C4 with support, right? Another thing, this diagonal is just open towards his rook. Maybe you could use it in the future, right? So these are just things you notice. Now you put the knight here. It has one new possibility, right, that it didn't have before because it would have been kicked. And now, boom, 95. Beautiful. So you did recognize the knight was misplaced. So far, I mean, your game is pretty good, pretty solid, very strong. A couple weird positional things that I would do different, but it's not really a big deal. Um, so far, so good. You just improved your knight. Your position looks great. And you're threatening to potentially get that bishop pair off the board. So he takes. Fine. We take with the bishop, opening our rook, creating a threat. Fine, good stuff. I'd rather be black. Even without the bishop pair, um, somehow you just these 3 units look just more active. White's bishop looks quite passive, and I don't know. You're the one making threats. I like it. That's a weird move unless he moves the c pawn and finds its way here. Otherwise, it's extremely awkwardly placed, I think. Ah, so that's why you play g6 to go f5. Weird idea, huh? f5. I mean, okay. I love the move, assuming he's gonna take you, and e takes f, and sure, that's amazing. But there's no way he's gonna take you, right? And so you have to assume there's no way he's gonna take you. That's not a line. And then do you still want this move because you just created a backwards e6 pawn, right? If he doesn't take you. Maybe you were thinking you could push, but that's also not a big deal. For example, like f3 push, bishop back. Like, did you want this backwards pawn? Was this part of your plan? It still looks good. It still looks like you have a nice bind, but you have to. The most important thing about this is before you make the move, you have to not play hope chess. You have to tell yourself, okay, he's not gonna take, right? Don't make this move saying, oh, this looks so good if he takes. No, no, that's totally wrong. So depending on how you thought about the move, it was right or wrong. And if he, it's kind of a weird move, but it's also fine. It's strong in a weird way. Like it's just strong. Like it's not the first move on my radar, but it's a strong move. Like after I see you make it, which is weird because you said you're 1,000 rapid online, but like this move is kind of crazy. I'm not gonna lie. Anyway, he takes. No, what are you doing? Why would you take that? Like goes against all principles. Wait, I'm just curious. Does f4? What's the move? Bishop c3. Okay. But if bishop c3 and he pushes past, how does this look? Yeah, you will. I mean, you allowed this, which I don't want this transformation from the black side because of this whole new pawn structure. It's fine, it's playable, but there's no reason to like allow this, right? Because the second you play f5, the move I would play that I would be thinking about reaching for isn't f3, it's f4, which the engine doesn't even list in their top 5 moves. But I would play f4 from white, like on instinct for sure. It says it's an inaccuracy, but practically speaking, this has to be the best move. Yeah, I would definitely go for this as white and try to beat me. Like, that would be my mindset as white. Okay, but you push and he takes, which is ridiculous because now when you take, your rook is fully justified. It went from misplaced to best placed piece on the board because of where his king is, which is kind of crazy. Inactive, super active, right? These are the pawn transformations your opponent didn't think about, and now he's going to pay the price maybe. G3. Okay, he wants to stop this. Okay, so for everyone watching on from both sides, when you see this rook is here, the king is here, the only thing are these bishops that can easily be kicked and moved and harassed. What you should be thinking is, I need to get my king out of here, right? So king f1 is what you should be on your mind, right? That even if there's like the engine will lift 5 moves, king f1 is the way your human brain should be processing this position. Like, oh no, I need to get my king out of here because this can open up any second. It's completely misplaced. So even if other moves are playable, I don't like them. Move your king. This guy, g3, I'm okay. What are you gonna do? You can still. He's trying to stop f4, right? Because he doesn't want to walk into this tactic. But if you play f4 and he takes the pawn and you take the pawn, bishop's still pinned, so he didn't stop f4. Okay, we improve a bishop and improve a rook in one move. This bishop is severely restricting and annoying for white. f4 was a move, but whatever. Now he moves his king. So then, was it really necessary to play g3? But anyway, this looks good. We have our rook's central files on the 2 open files. Our bishop on an outpost in front of a backwards pawn, using that strategic weakness. Knight defending the king, looking at the center. Pieces, perfect. Sure, you can maybe move them forward one day, but perfect otherwise. Solid pawn structure, safe king. Beautiful position for black. Wait, which? So you retreated it from that very restrictive, beautiful square to try to trade. I know I said I wanted to trade, like, get his bishop pair, but now that the bishop is so nice here, I don't want to trade it, right? because he can't use his rook can't move, and he can't do anything. He wants to trade. He needs to get rid of this bishop. He needs to go bishop d2 and try to get that guy. In which case you can avoid it and he can't go back because he'll hang stuff. And if he kicks it, you always have this beautiful diagonal to stare at. So it's a fine move. Obviously does not collapse your position. Totally playable. But now his rook is staring at whatever piece is going to be here. You're kind of putting yourself in some type of weird X-ray that may or may not matter in the future. I feel like if you want to get the bishop pair, the best way is for your knight if possible. If not, okay. But here, like, you could at least maybe throw in the attack and see if you can get it because it's pinned with the rook. If he moves it, you have nice squares to improve the knight. So I feel like knight e5 maybe a better try. But your move, totally acceptable. He takes, you take, fine. Now he wants to pawn storm you, get in some king. It's not real. None of this is real. You have 3 pawns. He has 2. You have pressure, a knight in his face. He has 1 minor piece. This can't culminate into anything significant. Rook d5. Takes. Did you do that in case because you thought he was going to go b5 and you wanted to take? I hate this move. The engine bar doesn't move at all. I really don't like this move. Yeah, with rooks, especially, I found you have to be extremely careful when you move them up the board because they're clunky when there's too much stuff on the board. And here there's still a good amount of stuff on the board. And so it's easily harassable by some couple of pieces. I mean, you have to calculate stuff, but it just looks vulnerable is my point. And stopping this kind of makes no sense because it was stopped anyway. If he plays it, takes. Was he afraid of this? Like, this is not... Oops. Oh, wait, you have to make a move as black. True. Okay, but you can make any move. I don't know. I'll just say king b8. This is like... What does this do? Doesn't do anything. Doesn't, like... He's not getting to your king. You could probably just push past and who cares? So rook d5, like, right? Like in this context, let's say your rook was there. Like, what's it doing there? It's a super weird move. It's kind of like g6 to me. It was almost like weird idea. So what happened in the game? We go rook d5, which disconnects the rooks, and I'm not a fan. Maybe you want to double, which makes some sense, but A, you can go not so far up the board to double. You can go closer. B, you could have just lifted the other rook up 1, which would have been way easier to go in either direction. This looks like an awkward move. He does push past, and you push past, which makes this look even weirder. And doubling doesn't make sense if the bishop is protected by the pawn, right? Because the rook is never going to take the bishop because you'll lose the rook. So it only makes sense if the knight is pressuring the bishop from one of these squares, because then it doesn't matter if you take and if the pawn's defending. So it's just a weird move. See, now he attacks your rook, but undefends his bishop and this square. So not ideal. Probably not the best idea. So now we double out of force. Makes some sense, although now his bishop's undefended. So now doubling here has more merit than before. But realistically, I mean, this makes some sense. The problem is you can't infiltrate still on any side of his board. So it probably makes more sense to, again, he just weakened the bishop severely. His construction was relying on the fact that he had this bishop blockading the center protected by a pawn. He just gave that up. So now this d file is free to go. He just ruined the d file by moving that pawn. So now you really want your rooks on the d file. So bringing your rook back, Well, probably not here because you don't want a tempo. But let's say here, doubling. Now his bishop's in danger. The rook behind it can be in danger. And you're not like you're not going to have to worry about his king, you know, blocking your infiltration. Just a small nuance, but your move does not collapse your position, totally playable. Okay, so here we notice we have our rooks. We say to ourselves, okay, they're on an open file, they're doubled, we can't infiltrate, so there you can't really improve them. The king, you don't, I mean, it's fine. What are you going to do with the king? So we have a knight. What are we going to do with the knight? And I like this way of thinking because you don't have much material on the board, so it's easy to go one by one. So we took care of our most powerful pieces. Now, second most powerful piece. Let's try to improve it. Well, if we could pick it up and place it on any square on the board, what square would it be? I think a lot of people might say F3, right? Like, oh, it's an outpost. F2 is a backwards pawn. It's in his face. It's an octopus knight. It could potentially coordinate with a rook e1 in the future, and all that's true. But a couple things. One, without having stability from a pawn, it's a little deep in your opponent's territory. When, after king g2, all those threats like this don't actually matter. Your knight's loose. Can't even defend it. However, there is another outpost in front of a backwards pawn, and that's on c5. And it's on your side of the board, and it's on a dark square. It's unharassable, so it doesn't need any pawn support. If it did, it has b6. Even better. Permanently targeting a long-term weakness. So that knight would be beautifully placed here. Perfectly placed. So our guy goes here, hits the rook with tempo, and eyes the square. Beautiful move. And just like that, we get it there. It's such a good piece. You should feel like, oh, I love this as black. I feel like I'm strategically winning because what's he going to do about this knight and the pressure I'm putting? Uh, so yeah, you're hitting the bishop, you're hitting the pawn. Wait, what? B6. But you're hitting the bishop and you're hitting the pawn. So all he has to do is go bishop c2, and your knight is beautifully placed, but with a bishop on c2 specifically, it's also dominated. And that would make it kind of an equalish game because that bishop really does control your knight and vice versa. But he doesn't do that. He pushes a pawn trying to get cheeky. You see this? The moment he gets fancy, it's a blunder. Is it a coincidence that it's a pawn move? No. Why are you pushing pawns like this? It's a little bit crazy. Why are you hanging material? Wait, we went c6. But what about the free stuff, right? So let's take the free stuff because it comes for free. So it's free stuff for free, which is one of our highest principles based on our other speed runs, which you can watch. And it threatens the fork of the rooks. It threatens the pawn he just pushed way too far for no reason. You could also always just go back to the beautiful outpost and support an a4 pawn thrust. So this looks like a just free material, and then you would win the game because now this pawn's hanging and he can't support it because that pawn would be hanging. So basically he hangs the game, but we don't take it, which makes me think you definitely noticed this because it's over the board, but you were afraid of something. So my guess is you're afraid of either takes, thinking that it's dangerous or something, or maybe rook over you were afraid of. But rook over, pawn's protected. This hits a rook and a bishop, so your knight is never in trouble. Also rook over, this pawn's hanging, which you would just take, of course. So not that. Maybe you were worried about takes. But this pawn isn't creating any threats. He can't put a queen or a rook here that matter. No threats. So you took a pawn, he took a pawn, but it's your turn. So we take another pawn. Again, even if you do this, there's nothing dangerous about it. Completely winning, minus 3.4. Doesn't matter what he does because all of his stuff is loose. He can never attack your knight properly because you could just go wherever you want. And this pawn's protected. And if he moves his rooks from the back rank, well, this check is meaningless, so don't get too hung up on that. But your position's beautiful due to the fact that he has no threats, but he's down material. So that was a winning opportunity. So I would definitely have calculated that for a few minutes. I would have considered it a critical moment. But you push past saying, okay, I'm going to make my kings as safe as possible. That's fine. I don't like this restriction, how this covers this square, meaning your king is a bit boxed in, right? If he has a rook here. But he also can't take advantage of it, so it is fine in this case. Now he goes bishop c2, which he should have and could have done before. And okay, I would still rather be black because this knight is beautifully placed. And even though he has this bishop, you can move the knight around the board and hit every single square. That bishop is only ever going to cover light. He just committed his pawn to dark. Big mistake in the long run. You don't understand now. I'm not saying you, I mean like you can't see now how that might be a problem, but it's on a dark square. So you know that even in 30 moves, this bishop will never defend it. And what if you attack it with the knight? How's he going to defend it, right? So what do? We infiltrate for free. I like this move. We improve for free. That's cheeky. Cheeky but losing. And so, like I said, when you see this, okay, you want to calculate move by move concretely. I take, he takes, I take, he takes. What do I have? That's concreteness. You want to make sure you're not hanging anything. Maybe there's an opportunity to win something. But if you zoom out, again, he can't, if you trade his rooks, both his rooks, conceptually, he can't touch the dark squares. So you should be hurrying to take this, take this, take this, take this, and now only his king can touch dark squares, but it's way too slow. And so what if I attack this pawn, right? Knight d7. Boom. How can he defend it? Only with another pawn that would hang. So if he improves a piece, boom. Win condition, thank you. And okay, maybe he can defend these, but you just scoop the pawn. Your king is not restricted. You're up a pawn in an endgame, so that's nice. But okay, he goes here, and you do take. Oh, and you did take. Okay, nice. Oh, king d7, so close. Only the knight. You see, but king d7 is a good move because the thing is, it's weird. It's all because of nuances, right? From if you zoom out, you want to put your knight here to win a pawn. But if you zoom out even further, you realize this pawn's not going anywhere. You are going to be able to go here, and whether you do it now or in 3 moves, he can't do anything about it. So first, get your king here to the most forward available dark square to control as much of the board as you can in the center with the force field around your king, and then scoop up the pawn at your leisure with a better strategy with your king in the center, more map control. So you do this. I don't know if that was your plan. That's kind of crazy, but good move either way. Activating your king, also the right way to think. I'm just glad you didn't make pawn moves, right? If you had moved your pawn here or something, that's a no-go. But activating your king is really good. Activate it again. Very good. To a dark square, and it opens this up. Wait, what? The buttons. Where's the other? Where's the moves? Wait, this is the end of the game. Half. Oh yeah, he wrote a message. Oh, he accepted a draw here. Oh, oh yeah. Oh shoot. Oh man, that's I forgot about that because I read the message way before. Um, I see. So in your mind, you're like, okay, it's 3 on 3 here, no progress to be made. No matter where you put your king, he's just gonna oppose it and no progress to be made. 3 on 3 here, no progress to be made. I see. So I can definitely see where that comes from. But if you just, even if you don't understand like the whole color complex thing, even if you just say, wait a second, like this pawn visually should stick out to you. It should be like, wait, it's a little bit extended, a little bit in my territory. Can I attack it? Right? Even if you move your knight anywhere, your king can attack it, right? King c5. So you don't. It's not even a knight thing. It's just the can I attack the pawn thing. You can even move your knight, push the pawn, and then gobble its sideways with your king, right? So there's like different ways to attack the pawn. But when you see a pawn that's disconnected like this, you should be asking yourself, can I attack it? In all positions, not just this one, because the pawns belong connected, like ours. And the fact you have a knight here means there is no possibility of connecting them, which is what really should make it stand out. Can I attack this pawn? And because of this pawn, like if this pawn was back here, white would be so much happier. Even though it's not advanced, it's more harmonious, right? And cemented. But this is just a target. You're winning any number of ways because, okay, what's he going to do? Let's say, I don't know, he gains a little space and says your king not going anywhere. But guess what? Knight back. And how does he make progress? He doesn't because he bishop waits. The king can't go forward. And next you can come in here or you can eat the pawn, entirely winning. Let's make up some random potential human moves. Okay, if I'm white. I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to lose this pawn. Can I attack anything with my bishop? Can I get behind here? Right? That's what I'm thinking as white. Can I sack this pawn to get my bishop here? Right? Like, that's what I'm looking for. I don't know, though. Let's say I try it. Right? Like, even in this worst case scenario for black, when I allow the bishop to get behind, still entirely winning. This is going to be a 3-on-1 connected passer. I mean, you don't have to allow this. There's no reason to let him get behind your position like this, but um, that's the end of it. Your king is here. You're protecting the last pawn. He's going to go g4. You're going to take. What's he going to do? Take. And okay, you have 3, right? The bishop is just a bishop. Your king is here watching these. You have the knight. If at any point you trade the knight for bishop, even if his king eats all of these, you're just going to then eat these ones. Like it's always winning. But the main thing you need to notice is how weak this pawn is. It should pop out at you. But you accepted a draw, which is fine. Because this is chess and we don't know everything ahead of time or we'd be world champions. Um, really good game. Way higher than 1,000 rapid online. I don't know about what that was. Almost like, okay, there are inaccuracies and stuff, but kind of a higher level game for sure. And you drew a 1437 in an over the board. And this is FIDE, not even USCF. So this is even slightly higher like rating chess strength. So really good job. Thanks for the submission. Look for your pawn weaknesses and favorable pawn transformations for you, and don't improve pawn transformations for your opponent. But really good game. Goodbye.